Hi, welcome to Cinemasters. I'm Casey Zenner.
And I'm Payson Johnson.
So before we get started today, I'd like to let you all know to go ahead and click the Amazon Associates link down below. If you click that link, anything you buy on Amazon, we get 10% back on your purchase, and it does not add to your overall price. So go ahead and click that and support us while you're also buying things you were going to buy anyway. And also, before I let Payson introduce the movie, the AC isn't working very well in here today. So if we're sweaty, just let us be, okay? We're trying our best.
Also, we're quite the specimen of men, so it'll be
us.
a bit of a treat for you. So today we are reviewing Blade Runner 2049, the sequel to the Ridley Scott 1982 sci-fi film Blade Runner. Blade Runner 2049 is directed by Denis Villeneuve and written by Hampton Finch. So before we get started by talking about this movie, let's talk about the original movie. I love the original movie. The original film is one of my top 20 favorite films of all time. I love the atmosphere. I love the neo-noir style. I love the themes it presents. My personal favorite cut is the director's cut. I know a lot of people prefer the final cut. The final cut has a couple scenes that makes the overall theme of Blade Runner a bit too on the nose for me, which is why I prefer the director's cut a little more. Have you seen Blade Runner before?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I personally like noirs are like my favorite genre of film, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so having it set in the future and done so well, you know, I love it. I've only seen the final cut.
Okay.
I've seen parts of the theatrical, and I hated them so much I would not give the theatrical a chance.
The voiceover is truly awful.
Yes. I listened to the voiceover. I was like, how can they do this? You know, I love the final cut. It's probably one of the most beautifully shot films of all time. I just love, like you said, the atmosphere. And the thing I particularly like about the final cut over like the theatrical and everything is just that it doesn't really handhold you through it.
Yes.
You know, it just lets you experience the film. You know, so I love the original Blade Runner. It's fantastic.
So going into this movie, and considering that we both think that it's probably one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time, and it was a very nice standalone movie, I was a bit cautious when the sequel was announced. I was like, do we really need this sequel? But then the director was announced. Then Roger Deakins was announced that it was that he was shooting it. And then Ridley Scott, it was basically said, hey, listen, he has very little to do with this movie, which Ridley Scott's a genius, but nowadays...
Yeah, he's kind of fallen off a little bit.
He goes a little like that. And I can say this was absolutely for the better because... I'm trying not to be too hyperbolic. I absolutely loved this movie.
I tried to keep my expectations like I don't want to say low because they were already kind of high, you know.
Yeah.
But like at a normal place, you know.
I think I was trying to do that.
Yeah, and so like I watched the first teaser that came out, but I refused to watch the second trailer that they released because like even in the theaters, whenever it would come on before a movie, I just like close my ears.
Look away.
Yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to know anything. And so I went in trying to know like absolutely nothing at all, and I'm on the same boat. I thought I thought it was so damn good.
It was incredible. I told myself that this may have been an exaggeration when I was walking out, but as I thought about it more, I honestly don't think this is an exaggeration. This truly might be the most beautiful film I think I've ever seen. Honestly,
I might be in agreement. It's like Roger Deakins is amazing.
Roger Deakins is the greatest cinematographer of all time,
and he still hasn't won an Oscar. But that's a whole different discussion.
Different
discussion. But
yes,
I think this is his greatest achievement
so
far, and may be like the best thing he ever films in his life because every single shot
is a painting.
Every single one.
It's incredible.
It's like Kubrick times 10. You know, it's like. There's no shot in here that he's just like, okay, we'll just get this so we can get this.
No.
Not a single one.
Every shot had meaning, and not only did every shot have meaning and did it look good, the color. Oh my gosh, the Paladins, the color yellow. Okay, I usually don't like the color yellow. I think it's kind of an ugly color. But the way how this movie looks and uses that color is beautiful and breathtaking. It's amazing. It's not quite as, like, dark and on the streets gritty as the original, but I don't think it has to be because it's telling a slightly larger story in a way about the meaning of humanity, which I'll get to later. But
I can't think back on a single shot that I was like no. I just can't. And it's like nearly every single moment in this movie I can recollect because it looked so damn good.
And not since the original Lord of the Rings trilogy do I think I've seen a better combination of practical and digital effects. It was 50-50, and the way how it blends both of them by, yes, you are going to use CGI to make things move more flowing and physical, but guess what? When you have these actual, like, really cool, like, flying car props or these really cool futuristic sets, you are actually there, and it makes this world feel all the much more alive.
Like, it's still the same world, you know, like as the original Blade Runner,
Yes.
but it doesn't exactly look exactly like
Yes,
it, you
no.
know? And that's what I loved, you know, they still took their own liberties, and it's like 30 years in the future.
Yeah, 30
now,
years. The
you know?
first one takes place in 2019. This one takes place in 2049.
Yeah, so it's 30 years, so it's obviously going to be different, you know?
And looking at the worlds, and if you look at the original, the world of the original, and look at the sequel's world, I get how 30 years we progressed to this point. It makes complete sense.
We could go on for hours about how good this movie looks, but just to suffice it to say, this, like, I agree with you. This is probably the most beautiful film I've ever seen in my life.
Another person I need to thank is Hampton Fincher, the writer of this movie. He was the original writer of the original movie, and I'm happy that he didn't quite answer every single question one might have. He kind of gave some hints about what it could be, which I think we'll get to, but it very much seemed kind of like we're both big Twin Peaks fans. It kind of felt like when David Lynch was making Twin Peaks: The Return, it almost felt like he had this plan from the beginning. This is what Blade Runner 2049 feels like to me. Like, we are so far in the future, and I'm happy it doesn't quite, like, it doesn't try to member bury you by hanging onto the laurels too much of the original. Like, if you've seen the original, you will appreciate this movie a lot more. But it is very much its own story about this replicant by the name of Ryan Gosling. Played by Ryan Gosling, named K, and he is a new Blade Runner. Replicants can now become Blade Runners because this movie is basically about, there's this man by the name of Neanderthal Wallace, played by Jared Leto, and he has upgraded the replicants to basically be more human-like and more stronger and more intelligent than the original replicants. And they have now been tasked with hunting down the old replicants. And Kay, Ryan Gosling's character, is one of those Blade Runners. And basically, throughout the movie, he starts to unravel this plot of this replicant freedom movement, and he slowly begins to discover his humanity once more, just like how Deckard did in the original movie. And I gotta say, this has got to be the best performance I think I've seen from Ryan Gosling. Like, this movie is very much this movie has a great cast, but it is very much held by Ryan Gosling, and the amount of emotion he puts into this robotic character and the journey it goes on, I absolutely loved him in this movie.
He played it with, like, such subtlety, but also, like, he put, like, all his emotions into it, you know? It's like the moments where he was really emotional, he would show the emotion, but then it's like most of the time he was, like, really cold in a way, you know? But he, like, grew throughout the film. It was just I would agree. This is probably his best performance.
Yes,
ever,
and that's not taking away any of the other cast. Like, I loved Sylvia Hook, who plays Love, Wallace's assistant. I thought she was excellent. She was a very cold character. Jared Leto, I know some people are having some problems with him. I really liked him in this movie.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He was intimidating and creepy. And,
you get why he's won an Oscar before. Like, I know some people give him crap, but, like, he is a good actor at the end of the day.
Like, he's had bad roles, but this was not one of them, you know?
Anna de Armas, who played Kay's girlfriend, the computer, I thought the relationship between those characters were excellent.
Harrison Ford was great again.
Yeah, let's get to Harrison Ford. But yes, so this movie is very much Kay's movie. But Deckard is included in this movie, and the movie very much does use Deckard in a very great way by showing the allegory of his journey with Kay's journey. And this has got to be the most dialed in I think I've seen Harrison Ford in a long time. He was very good in Episode 7. He is far better in this film.
Yeah, I knew we were going to see him in the area when Kay goes in there because I've seen the trailer, you know? And, like, when I first saw him, it was, like, Harrison Ford. But then, like, immediately
completely takes you back in.
Yes, I was like, he's not Harrison Ford anymore. He's Deckard now.
And
you know?
The scene where they first meet, it's so good.
That scene in, like, the bar area, I was literally, like, shocked
in
the theater. I was completely shocked. I was like, how can someone make something this amazing? Like, I couldn't register in my mind how good it was. You know?
I think there's a very good reason why someone can make that amazing.
Yeah.
And that's because that person's Denis Villeneuve. As far as I'm concerned, Denis Villeneuve is, to what the Coen brothers were in the 90s and to what Christopher Nolan was in the 2000s, I'm going to say Denis Villeneuve is to the 2010s.
Yeah,
Every movie he's made since Incendies has been absolutely incredible. From Incendies to Prisoners to Enemy to Sicario to my favorite film of last year, Arrival. He has just knocked it out of the park with every single movie, as he did with this movie as well.
I do think he's probably the greatest director working in Hollywood
Working today? Yes.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say anywhere today because
Yes.
I personally have a bit more favorites like David Lynch.
Well,
He's still working.
Scorsese's still working.
Scorsese,
So,
but like this movie just really proved that he is a force to be reckoned with.
He can do anything.
Like
as long as that movie is dark, he can do it. Yeah.
Yes, he just and I really feel like every single film he's done, it just gets better and better and better.
Yes.
Like he just keeps pushing himself and keeps pushing the films he makes in general.
And just like his other movies, he stacks layers on layers on layers of not just complexity, but of emotional value that makes you feel with these characters and makes you just like with a movie like Arrival, like you don't completely understand what's going on at the beginning of this film. Like you're like, okay, I've been in this world before, but I'm not completely getting it. And then it slowly starts to register and starts connecting with you like, okay, this is going on. And then to the ending shot of the movie, you're like, I get it now. This is genius. Oh my gosh. And I had that feeling just like the same feeling I had with Arrival. I had the same feeling with this movie.
This was even more than Arrival for me. I loved Arrival so much, but like I saw this with two other people. I saw it with my brother and my friend. My friend had never seen the original Blade Runner.
Okay.
My brother saw it a long time ago, but he didn't remember it. And then just to show you, my brother claimed that he thinks this is the best sci-fi film ever made.
Okay.
After seeing it. So that should tell you something about the movie. But after the movie ended, I literally couldn't speak for 15 minutes.
I know. Yeah.
I was in my chair for nearly 2 minutes. I couldn't move. I was completely shocked. And it's hard for me to even find words, because like Arrival was unbelievable,
Oh, yeah.
Like it was incredible. But with this, it's just he has just created something that it just could not be created by anyone else.
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
know? Could not be created by anyone else.
He said, and I quote, "The reason why I'm directing a sequel to Blade Runner is so that way no one can fuck it up." And before I saw that, and this was, when he said this, I was a big Villeneuve fan at the time. I was like, okay, that's a little pretentious. Let's see where you're going. I get it now. Like no one else could have done this movie.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He totally made it his own. He molded it. He just infused every bit. I could tell he infused every bit of himself into making this, and it totally shows.
Absolutely. So something I want to get touch on. This movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I knew that going in. When this movie ended, I felt like we were at the 2 hour mark. I was like, wait, hold on. This is it?
I know.
This is it?
I was like, please, but I was like, no, please don't stop. And it's it's like I'm happy where it ended.
I'm totally happy.
But I was like, please, I just want more. I was like, don't let this end right now.
Because it does have a conclusion, but I felt because it is so captivating with the cinematography, with the direction, with the score by Hans Zimmer, which is excellent. Like, okay, I don't care what anyone says about the man. Other than John Williams, Hans Zimmer is the greatest composer working today.
He always does something new.
He always does something excellent.
And with this one, what I loved, because I think Vangelis' score from the original is one of if not the greatest scores ever made. And he just infused that and just brought it to like a whole new level. I was getting like so emotional. Like even if the scene wasn't that crazy, whenever the music, I'd be like, oh my god, I'm so captivated right now.
I was so captivated by this movie that it made just this 2 hour and 45-minute movie, which sounds incredibly long when you say it, just whiz by you. It feels like the fastest 3 hours you will ever spend in your life.
And I wouldn't even say it's a fast-paced movie.
No, absolutely not.
And that's
it takes its time.
That's what I love is the patience, because it's slow. It lets you breathe. It lets you appreciate everything you're seeing, and it doesn't just smack you over the face with constant action, exposition, anything. It's just, it's so beautiful.
Did you see either the live-action Ghost in the Shell movie or Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets?
No, I didn't see either of them.
Okay, so this movie is somewhat like, those movies are somewhat like Blade Runner 2049, where they give you visuals that are very unique and very pretty. But the thing that separates Blade Runner 2049 from those movies is that this movie actually doesn't ignore the story and realize that you have to have a good story for people to be captivated by your movie, and that's what you remember from this movie. You remember the journey of Kay. You remember the journey of Joy. You remember the journey of love. You remember the journey of Deckard. You remember the journey. Robin Wright in this movie. Holy crap! How did I forget about Robin Wright?
Which one is he again?
No, Robin. She.
Sorry.
She's the She's the second in command of Wallace Company. The
Oh,
human
yeah.
behind. Yeah, she is. Because I did not know where she stood throughout the entire movie. And then when you learn, it's like, okay, I get this now. And man, just like the side characters as well. Like Dave Bautista was great in this movie.
See, there was not a single character that was bad.
Yeah, Lenny
or
James.
actor.
When Barkhad Abdi showed up, I was like, whoa, Barkhad Abdi's in
You were
this.
like, I didn't even know.
Barkhad Abdi was Moussa and Captain Phillips. And he shows up.
He was
and
great,
yeah, and I'm
too.
just like, holy crud, yeah, he's in this movie? Yeah, just the cast, the direction, this movie is so good. So, we're talking about all this stuff we love about this movie. The direction, the writing, the characters, the visuals. I have to ask, is there anything you don't like about this movie?
There is.
Okay,
And it's like,
I have a couple things.
Yeah, and for me, it's very, very small
Yes.
things. So, this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler.
Arm up, I will put it down
'kay.
When it's over.
So, one of the things that I knew while watching the movie that bothered me was when Kay's girlfriend Joy, I think it's her name, Joy.
Joy.
When they leave the apartment, she's like, "You have to put me on the little thing."
Yes.
And he's like, "But if you die, you'll be dead." And it was just so obvious she was gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, like I totally saw it coming. So when it happened, it was like, it
Yeah.
didn't have as much of an impact on me as it should have. But that's also a very, very tiny story thing, you know. And that was probably the biggest one. There's probably a couple more I could nitpick at, but they didn't really bother me. And then the only other thing that would hold me back from saying this is an absolute masterpiece would be that it still follows the three-act structure in a way,
Yes.
which doesn't always bother me. You know, I mean, it can work well.
Yeah.
And I think it did work well in this movie, but the only thing is, like, I can still see where it was kind of going. But it was, like, very little. Like, again, these are very little things.
Yes.
That, while watching it, the only one that bothered me was the girlfriend one. But besides that, you know.
Yeah, so this movie did have a couple of things that bothered me, mainly two. One of them is a very personal thing, and one of them is an actual flaw I do believe the movie has. Let's just get to the actual flaw. So, as most Villeneuve movies have, this movie does have a very big twist. It does not rely on this twist like a lot of Shyamalan movies does, but it definitely is a big part to the movie. I feel as if this movie tried to reveal its twist twice. One of them at the beginning of the third act, and the other at the very ending. I do not feel as if I needed the one at the beginning of the third act. Because for me, I was dialed into this movie the entire way through from pretty much when, and this is a minor spoiler, I was dialed in I was completely captivated with the movie up until the Wallace Corporation captured both Kay and Deckard. Okay? And then you get a reveal, and I was like, okay. I was completely in before, and I'm like, I'm still kind of in, but I'm not quite as in before, but I'm not quite as in as I was before. But then the way the ending, how it reinforced that, I was completely back in, but it only made me wonder, like, okay, why did you have to reveal this?
Yeah, see, for that, it did. I don't think it bothered me. I can see. I guess I can see what you're saying. For me, I wouldn't say it really bothered me too much though. It kept me. It didn't. I can see what you're saying a little bit. Like even like the twist you're talking about.
Yeah.
Was one of the things that was like part of the 3-act thing I was talking about.
Okay.
That I could kind of see something was gonna happen, so it wasn't too big of a surprise. But no, the twist didn't really bother me too much.
Okay. And then the other thing, and this is just a real personal thing, something I'm not a fan of is when you go to a new location and then just in text it says the name of that location. Yeah. It just kind of bothers me. Like so you're going through this and it says Wallace Corporation Building or Neo Los Angeles Juncture, and I'm like, okay, like I get why that's there because I know some
audiences. You out of the
it kind of takes me out because like I could understand that this is a place where old replicants go by seeing it, but those are literally my only complaints. Everything else in this movie was so finely crafted.
Yeah, like I said, those are like very, very little complaints, you know. And the thing that I couldn't help but like talk when I left was, excuse me, I just kept saying like, this, for me, it sounds stupid. I was like, this wasn't a film. This was an experience.
Yes.
You know? Like, this was beyond just, let's go to the movies and watch something. Like, this transcended that in a sense. Because everything. You're just involved, and it creates a world, and it's
Yes.
just blow after blow of such goodness, you know. And it's just it was just it's beyond words to
Yes.
say how incredible this film was.
Just one last thing I really want to tackle on
Mm-hmm.
is the themes of this film, of rediscovering yourself, of questioning yourself, what it means to be a man, to what it means to be human, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so something that a lot of modern movies does is it explains it very much to you in a very thorough way. I think the way this movie, it never tells you what you're supposed to be feeling. It never tells you outwardly what the message is. I think the way how this movie handles its themes were very well done.
Yes, because there is literally nothing in this film that shoves in your face.
No, absolutely not.
Maybe the visuals, but even
Yes.
that, it's worth it. You
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's seriously nothing that it just outright tells you at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the journey and the characters and who they are. And I agree. It's sort of like discovering what it means to be human in a sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, a lot of it was like just learning what selflessness is, you know,
Yes.
and passion and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it just. Oh, I loved it so much how it never explained it. And what I thought was interesting, so there's been the constant debate since the original Blade Runner whether Deckard's
whether he's a replicant or not.
replicant or not. And the thing is, like I've always thought he was a replicant, you know.
I've always thought he was a human, but okay.
Interesting, yeah. And the thing is, with this film, it never really answers that. Still,
No.
you know, it still
No.
doesn't really
Yes.
say out like it's you could go either way with the subtleties.
I
on
have
how
my
it is.
I have my theories with how the movie presented. I think that it gave pretty clear presentation to me that Decker's a human. But if you took it that he's
See,
a
I
replicant-
didn't.
I get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
See, that's what I love is that it doesn't. Not only does it not shove the theme in its face, but for all the people that are loving the like conspiracy kind of stuff, it doesn't like give them clear answers either.
There are times when I just see a movie in theaters and I can just tell, like, 10 years from now, this is going to be a movie that is remembered, and I can see this movie being that.
Exactly, and that's like one of my biggest issues with a lot of modern day films is like you'll go see it and I'll walk away and be like, I'm gonna forget this movie in like a month or two. You know, like American Made I thought was great, but I doubt I'll remember it very long.
Yeah, probably
for
not.
me, I know for not a lot of people, for me I'm gonna forget about that pretty soon. You know?
Yeah, you just didn't like it.
Yeah,
But
exactly. So it's like you can have a mediocre film, but if I forget about it, it's not like that. That makes me like it even less in a sense.
Okay,
You know?
yeah.
This movie, no one will forget.
No
seeing
one
this
is
movie.
going to forget this movie.
Like even if you are not a big cinephile or anything, you will not forget that you saw this movie.
Yes.
You know, there was
Yes.
no way.
Okay, so we've talked a lot. Do you want to go into final thoughts?
Sure.
Okay.
So for me, I think it is absolutely genius. Probably one of the best films to come out in the 2010s.
Okay.
I honestly think
Okay.
it's one of the best films to come out in the 2010s. The visuals, every single aspect, visuals, audio, acting, directing, set design, theme, you know, everything about the film
Yes.
was genius. And nothing, it never faltered. There were, like I said, there was like those two little nitpicky
Yes.
things, but like even those like I can tell like an audience probably wouldn't get bothered by those things.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I wish like if I could, I would give this thing like a 9.8 or a
Okay.
9.9. But since we go by halves, I would have to go 9.5.
Okay.
Because I'm not willing to round up to 10.
That's
since
fair.
I have
Yeah.
this little thing for this.
This is everything to me what a good sequel should be. It takes the world of the original and completely expands on it and tells its own story while still having callbacks to the original. Once again, from what you said, this movie is so finely crafted, so beautiful, so well acted, so well told that it will be remembered for decades and decades to come. Just as the original Blade Runner did, how people didn't see it necessarily in theaters, which I hope doesn't happen with this movie.
Even if it does, though.
Yeah,
you know?
even if it does, I know generations in the future will learn the genius of this film, which is what it is. It is completely genius. Denis Villeneuve is one of the best directors working today. There are shots in this movie where I feel as if this was his audition tape to direct Dune, which is apparently what he's doing next.
That's going to be
And
wild.
yeah, that is going to be insane, and I'm so excited for that. It really moved me in a way. I'm not quite sure if it's my favorite movie of 2017, but I don't see it at least not being in the top 5. Yeah, I think I'm going to push. I'm going to go 9.5 out of 10. I really, really loved this movie.
Yeah, I'm happy we agreed this time,
Yeah.
you know? It's just, I kind of knew walking out.
Yeah.
I was like, there is no way that Payson will not like this film.
I said, okay, if KC doesn't like this movie, we might have an issue.
Okay. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions of movies you want us to do a video review for, we already have ones planned out, but if there's any specific ones, go ahead and let us know. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ZennerFilm.
And you can follow me on Twitter at The Cinemaster.
Thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
And keep that reel rolling.